Millionaire husband leaves 8 months pregnant wife at a remote gas station and drives to a beach resort. She was. The night was dark, the only light coming from the headlights of the sleek black sports car as it sliced through the empty highway. Inside, Claire sat in the passenger seat, one hand resting on her swollen belly, the other gripping the armrest tightly. She was 8 months pregnant, exhausted, and uncomfortable. The long drive had left her body aching, but more than that, something felt off. Her husband, Ryan Sterling, a wealthy, powerful businessman, had barely said a word for the past 2 hours. His sharp blue eyes stayed locked on the road ahead, his fingers drumming against the steering wheel in irritation every time she shifted in her seat. Claire cleared her throat softly. "Ryan, can we stop for a minute? I need to use the restroom." He let out a frustrated sigh, gripping the wheel a little tighter. "Can't it wait?" "I've been holding it for almost an hour," she murmured, trying to keep her voice calm. "Please, Ryan." Without a word, he jerked the car toward the next exit, pulling into a small, dimly lit gas station off the highway. Claire exhaled in relief. "I'll be quick," she promised, reaching for the door handle. Ryan didn't respond. She hesitated for a moment, glancing at him. His jaw was tense, his expression unreadable. Something wasn't right, but she was too tired to question it. She stepped out of the car, waddling toward the gas station's restroom, unaware that this was the last time she would ever see that car again. Claire washed her hands, taking a deep breath in front of the small, scratched mirror. Just a little longer, she whispered to herself. Soon she would be home. Soon she could rest. She dried her hands and stepped back outside into the cold night air. But something was wrong. The spot where Ryan had parked was empty. She froze. Her heart pounded against her ribs as her eyes darted around the gas station lot. "Ryan?" she called, panic rising in her throat. Silence. She fumbled for her phone, her hands trembling as she dialed his number. It rang once, twice. Then, a message popped up on her screen. A single text from Ryan. "We're done. Take care of yourself." Claire's breath hitched. She blinked, staring at the words, her mind refusing to process them. Her fingers tightened around the phone. She called again. And again. Straight to voicemail. No, this couldn't be happening. Her vision blurred as the truth crashed over her. He had left her. Alone. Pregnant. In the middle of nowhere. Claire stood frozen, her body shaking, her heart hammering in her chest. This wasn't just a mistake. Ryan hadn't forgotten her. He had planned this. Her stomach twisted painfully as another thought crept in. If he wasn't here, then where was he? Almost as if the universe wanted to answer her, another message flashed across her screen. This time it wasn't from Ryan. It was from an unknown number. A photo. Claire's blood ran cold. It was Ryan. At a luxury beach resort. With another woman. Vanessa. The woman Claire had suspected for months. The woman Ryan had always dismissed as just a friend. And now, here they were, champagne glasses in hand, smiling, laughing, celebrating. Claire felt her knees go weak. The gas station lights buzzed above her, the world around her spinning, tilting. Her husband, the father of her child, had left her here to rot, and he wasn't coming back. The cold air bit into Claire's skin as she stood motionless in the empty gas station lot. Her hands trembled around her phone, her breath coming in shallow, uneven gasps. Ryan was gone. He had left her here, alone, abandoned, 8 months pregnant, with nowhere to go. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to force back the overwhelming panic rising in her chest. "Think, Claire, think!" She reached into her coat pocket, searching for cash, nothing. Ryan had taken her wallet, her credit cards, even her ID. She had no money, no way to get home. The gas station clerk had already locked the doors for the night, the dim closed sign blinking mockingly at her. She turned toward the road, scanning the darkness for headlights. Nothing. Just an empty highway stretching for miles in both directions, swallowed by the vast, open night. Then, the first raindrop hit her cheek, and then another. Within seconds, the sky opened up, sending a cold, relentless downpour crashing down on her. Claire pulled her coat tighter around herself, shivering violently. Her boots splashed against the wet pavement as she forced herself to move, to do something other than stand there drowning in helplessness. But with each step, her body felt heavier. The weight of exhaustion, of heartbreak, of betrayal pressing down on her like an invisible force. Then, a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. She gasped, doubling over, clutching her stomach. No, No, not now. Her breath came out in short, ragged pants. Another wave of pain. A contraction. She could barely think through the haze of panic, but deep down she knew it was too early. She wasn't supposed to have the baby yet. But her body didn't care. Another contraction hit, stronger this time, forcing her to stumble against a streetlight. The world blurred, her vision darkening at the edges. She needed help. Now. But there was no one. No cars. No voices. Just the rain, the wind, and the sound of her own labored breathing. She was going to collapse right here, alone in the middle of nowhere. Her child, her baby, was at risk. And there was nothing she could do. Just as Claire felt her knees begin to buckle, a pair of headlights pierced through the night. A vehicle. She tried to lift her hand, to wave, to scream, but her strength was fading. The car slowed. Then, the engine cut off. The driver's door swung open. A tall figure stepped out, holding an umbrella against the rain. He moved toward her quickly, concern written across his face. "Miss, are you okay?" Claire blinked through the rain, barely able to make out his features. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Another contraction ripped through her body, sending her collapsing forward. Strong arms caught her just in time. Before the darkness swallowed her whole, she heard his voice, low, steady, and urgent. "I've got you." The world felt distant, like she was floating between consciousness and darkness. Claire barely registered the sensation of being lifted, of strong arms wrapping around her trembling body. The rain still poured, but she was no longer standing alone in the storm. Somewhere close, a voice spoke, low, steady, urgent. "Stay with me, miss. Just hold on." She wanted to answer, to say "I'm trying," but the words wouldn't come. Her body had given up on her. Then, warmth. A car door opening. The scent of leather seats and clean linen. The sound of an engine roaring to life. She was moving. And then, just as her body finally succumbed to exhaustion. Darkness. The next thing Claire knew, she was waking up to bright fluorescent lights and the sterile scent of antiseptic. Her eyelids felt heavy, but she forced them open. White walls. The rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor. A hospital. For a moment, panic surged through her baby. She gasped, trying to sit up, but a firm, yet gentle hand pressed her back down. "Easy," a voice said. "You're safe." Claire's vision cleared, and she found herself staring up into the face of a man she had never seen before. Tall. Dark hair slightly tousled. Kind eyes. Not Ryan. Someone else. Someone genuine. Where? Her throat was dry, her voice barely above a whisper. "Where am I?" "County Hospital," he replied, adjusting the blanket over her. "You collapsed from exhaustion and stress. Your baby is fine, but you need to rest." Claire blinked at him, trying to piece together how she had gotten here. And then it all came crashing back. Ryan. The gas station. The text message. The photo of him with Vanessa. A sharp pain twisted in her chest, but before she could drown in the memory, the man spoke again. "I found you on the side of the road. You were barely conscious. I had to get you here fast." His tone was calm, but there was a lingering edge of concern. Claire swallowed, feeling the lump in her throat grow. You saved me?" A small smile tugged at the corner of his lips. "I guess you could say that." She stared at him, processing his words. "Who are you?" "Who are you?" "Daniel Carter," he answered. "Doctor, I was on my way home when I saw you in the rain." A doctor. Her rescuer wasn't just anyone. He was a man who had dedicated his life to saving others. And now, he had saved her too. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then, Daniel leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "Claire, I need to ask you something." Her gaze flickered to him. He knew her name. "The hospital ran a check on your ID while you were unconscious," he explained, as if reading her mind. "And I noticed something strange." She stiffened. "You had no emergency contact listed, no one to call." He tilted his head slightly. "Where is your husband?" Claire felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. The question cut deep, forcing her to relive the betrayal all over again. She could lie. Say that Ryan was just away on business, that he would be here soon. But looking at Daniel, this man who had saved her, who had treated her with nothing but kindness, she knew she couldn't. Her lips trembled. He left me." Daniel's jaw tightened. "What do you mean he left you?" His voice was softer now, but there was something dangerous beneath it. Claire inhaled shakily, staring down at her hands. We were on a road trip. He pulled into a gas station, told me to go inside, and then he just drove away." Daniel's expression darkened. "You're 8 months pregnant." She let out a broken laugh. "Trust me, I know." A beat of silence. Then, Daniel ran a hand through his hair, shaking his head in disbelief. "And where is he now?" Claire swallowed past the lump in her throat. "At a beach resort, with his mistress." The words felt like acid leaving her tongue. Daniel's entire body went rigid. For a moment he didn't speak. Then, "That bastard." The sheer disgust in his voice surprised her. Not pity, not empty sympathy. Rage. "Ah, for her." Her. Claire blinked, startled by the way her chest tightened, not with sadness, but with something else. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. A sense of being protected. Daniel exhaled slowly, trying to compose himself. "Look," he said, his voice calmer now, but still firm. "You don't have to tell me everything, but I need you to know something." She met his gaze. "You're not alone." Claire's breath hitched. "I'm not." "No." He leaned forward slightly. "You have nowhere to go, no one to turn to, and I can't, in good conscience, just let you walk out of here with no plan." She stared at him, disbelief flooding her veins. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. Daniel held her gaze, unwavering. "Because someone should have done it for you a long time ago." A lump formed in her throat. She had spent so long believing she wasn't worth saving, that no one would ever choose to stay. But this man, this stranger, had stopped for her in the rain, had brought her here, had promised she wasn't alone. And for the first time in years, Claire felt something stir inside her. Hope. The days blurred together after Claire was discharged from the hospital. Her body was still weak, but thanks to Daniel's unwavering kindness, she wasn't facing this alone. She had expected him to drop her off at a shelter, or maybe at a motel, but instead, "You'll stay with me until we figure something out," he had said. She had been too exhausted to protest, and that was how Claire found herself in Daniel Carter's home. His house was nothing like the cold, sterile mansion she had shared with Ryan. It was warm, filled with books, soft blankets, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee. For the first time in years, Claire felt safe. Daniel had set up a guest room for her, making sure it had everything she needed: extra pillows for her aching back, warm socks, and even a stack of baby books. "Just in case you get bored," he had joked. But it was the first time in a long time someone had thought about her comfort. It made her chest tighten in a way she couldn't explain. Daniel made sure she attended every prenatal checkup, driving her to the clinic himself. He didn't hover, didn't push for details about her past, but his presence was steady, like an anchor keeping her from drifting away. Claire, however, was still struggling to let go of the past. There were nights when she woke up in a cold sweat, the memory of Ryan's betrayal suffocating her. She would sit on the edge of the bed, hand resting on her belly, whispering soft reassurances to her baby. "We're okay now," she would murmur. "We'll be okay." And in the quiet of the house, she would hear Daniel moving around, as if he knew she needed to hear another person breathing nearby. She never asked if he stayed awake on purpose, and he never mentioned it. One morning, as Claire sat at the kitchen table, staring at the cup of tea Daniel had made her, she felt something shift inside her. For so long she had been defined by Ryan, by his wealth, his power, his cruelty. She had been his wife, his possession, his afterthought. And now, she had nothing to her name. But maybe, just maybe, that was a good thing. She had a blank slate, a chance to become someone new. She lifted her chin, determination flickering in her eyes. "I want to get a job," she said. Daniel looked up from the medical journal he had been reading. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes," she nodded firmly. "I can't sit here feeling sorry for myself. I need to stand on my own 2 feet." Daniel studied her for a long moment. Then, a small smile tugged at his lips. "All right," he said. "Let's find you something." And just like that, Claire Sterling stopped being a woman defined by her past, and started becoming a woman in control of her future. The waves crashed against the shore, the golden sun casting its warm glow over the luxurious beach resort. Ryan leaned back in his private cabana, a cocktail in hand, his expensive sunglasses shielding his eyes from the afternoon glare. Across from him, Vanessa, his lover, giggled as she scrolled through her phone. "You're so much better off without her," she purred, reaching over to trail her fingers down his arm. Ryan smirked. "Of course I am." Claire had been a burden. Weak, fragile, boring. Now, he was free. Free to enjoy his money, his youth, and the company of a woman who actually knew how to have fun. He took another sip of his drink, utterly unbothered. Claire was gone, and he would never have to think about her again. But while Ryan was busy basking in his false sense of security, the world outside was burning. The internet had exploded. It started with a leaked security camera video. A short, grainy clip, but damning nonetheless. The footage showed a gas station parking lot late at night. A heavily pregnant woman, Claire, stepping out of a sleek black car. Moments later, the car sped away, leaving her behind. Alone. Confused. Abandoned. The timestamp on the video confirmed everything. Ryan Sterling had left his heavily pregnant wife in the middle of nowhere. And within hours, the clip had gone viral. The internet erupted in fury. How could someone do this? She was carrying his child, and he left her like garbage. Ryan Sterling is a monster. People dug deeper, uncovering the truth about Ryan's infidelity. Articles surfaced about how he had been at a luxury resort with Vanessa just days after Claire's abandonment. Soon, hashtags like Justice for Claire and Boycott Sterling Corp began trending worldwide. It wasn't just social media outrage, it became a corporate nightmare. Ryan's company, Sterling Enterprises, was one of the biggest investment firms in the country. But its success depended on public image and investor trust. And now, both were crumbling. Clients pulled out. Stock prices plummeted. Major partners distanced themselves. A formal investigation into Ryan's ethics began. And worst of all, his board of directors held an emergency meeting to discuss removing him from the company. Ryan went from being a respected millionaire to a man whose name was synonymous with betrayal and disgrace. And just when he thought things couldn't get worse, Vanessa turned on him. The moment Vanessa realized Ryan's money and reputation were collapsing, she changed overnight. "Babe, don't worry," Ryan had told her when he first saw the headlines. "This will blow over." But Vanessa wasn't stupid. She had been with him for the lifestyle, the luxuries, the power. Now, Ryan was damaged goods. And Vanessa Jacobs, had no interest in staying on a sinking ship. So she packed her bags, drained the credit card he had given her, and left him with a single note on the hotel nightstand. "Oops. Looks like you lost everything. Guess I'll take my leave now. Have fun cleaning up your mess." And just like that, Ryan Sterling, once a man who had everything, was now a man who had nothing. And the worst part? Claire had never even lifted a finger to destroy him. He had done it all on his own. The knock on the door came late in the evening. Claire had just finished putting away the last of the baby clothes Daniel had helped her pick out, feeling lighter than she had in months. Her belly was rounder now, her due date approaching fast, but for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of the future. She was ready for it. Then, knock. 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 Her fingers froze on the fabric of a tiny onesie. Something about the sound felt wrong. Daniel wasn't supposed to be back for another hour. And no one else ever came by unannounced. Slowly, heart pounding, she moved to the door. When she opened it, Ryan stood there. Claire's breath caught in her throat. For a moment she simply stared, unable to process that he was really here. But he was. Ryan Sterling, her ex-husband, the man who had abandoned her, the man who had left her to suffer while he ran off with another woman, stood on her doorstep, looking nothing like the man she remembered. His suit, once perfectly tailored, was wrinkled. His face, always clean-shaven, was now shadowed with stubble. And his eyes, once sharp and arrogant, were filled with desperation. "Claire." His voice was hoarse, almost pleading. She said nothing. Gripping the edge of the door, she fought the urge to slam it in his face. But Ryan took that as an invitation to step forward. "Please," he continued. I just want to talk." Claire lifted her chin, her voice cold and steady. "Why?" Ryan exhaled sharply, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I made a mistake," he admitted, his jaw clenching. "I should have never left you." Her fingers tightened on the doorframe. "And yet, you did." His throat bobbed. "I wasn't thinking straight, Claire. I was stupid. Selfish. I don't know what got into me." Claire let out a humorless laugh. "I do." Ryan's face twisted in confusion. "What?" She stepped forward slightly, her voice like ice. "You thought I was weak." He flinched. "You thought I had nowhere to go, that I would fall apart without you. that I would come crawling back, begging for you to take me in." Her lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "But guess what, Ryan?" She lifted a hand to her swollen belly. "I survived." Ryan's eyes flickered to her belly, realization finally hitting him. She didn't need him. Not anymore. Not ever again. His face tightened, and he scrambled for words. "Claire, please." "I lost everything. Vanessa, she left me the moment things got bad. My company gone, my reputation destroyed." He took a step closer, reaching out. "You were always the best thing in my life, and I was too blind to see it. But now." She pulled back before he could touch her. Her stomach twisted, not with sadness, not with longing, but with disgust. He wasn't here because he loved her. He was here because he had no one else, and she refused to be his second choice. Claire took a deep breath, looking Ryan directly in the eyes. "You're not sorry you left me," she said calmly. "You're sorry that I moved on without you." Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came, because he knew she was right. She stepped back, her hand tightening on the doorknob. "You don't get to come back now, Ryan, not after everything." She gave him one last look, not with hate, not with anger, but with something even worse. Indifference. "I found happiness without you," she said simply, "and I don't need you anymore." Then, she closed the door in his face. And this time it was Ryan Sterling who was left standing in the cold. The night was quiet, except for the rhythmic beeping of the hospital monitors and the occasional hushed voices of nurses passing by. Claire lay in the hospital bed, her body exhausted but her heart full in a way she had never known before. In her arms, wrapped in a soft, white blanket, was her newborn son. Tiny, perfect, hers. Tears welled in her eyes as she traced her finger along his delicate cheek. "We did it, baby," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We made it." Across the room, sitting in a chair by her bedside, Daniel watched the two of them with quiet admiration. He had been there every step of the way, holding her hand when the contractions became unbearable, whispering words of encouragement when she thought she couldn't push any longer, making sure the doctors and nurses gave her the best care possible. And now he was still here, even though she wouldn't blame him if he had left after making sure she was safe. But he hadn't, and something about that made her chest ache in the best possible way. Daniel stood up and walked over to her, his movements careful, as if afraid of disturbing the peaceful moment. "How are you feeling?" he asked gently. Claire looked up at him, eyes tired but softer than before. "Like I've finally woken up," she admitted. His lips curled into a small smile. "He's beautiful," Daniel said, glancing down at the baby in her arms, just like his mother. Claire felt her cheeks warm, but she didn't look away this time. Because for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel the need to run from affection. Daniel hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Claire, I need to tell you something." Her heart skipped a beat. "You don't owe me anything," he started, his voice steady. "I didn't help you because I expected something in return. I helped you because he exhaled, shaking his head with a small chuckle. "Because I care about you. More than I ever expected to." Her breath caught in her throat. "Daniel, you don't have to say anything now," he interrupted softly. "I just want you to know that I'm here, and I want to be here. For you, for him, for whatever comes next." The weight of his words settled deep in her heart. He wasn't making promises he couldn't keep. He wasn't asking for anything she wasn't ready to give. He was simply offering himself. And for the first time in her life, Claire allowed herself to accept love rather than just survive it. She reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers. "I think," she whispered, smiling for the first time in what felt like forever, "that I want you to be here too." And as Daniel squeezed her hand in silent understanding, Claire knew. She had finally found her true happiness. The soft morning light streamed through the windows, casting a golden glow over the cozy living room. The sound of soft cooing filled the air as Claire rocked her baby gently in her arms. Her son, her beautiful, strong little boy, stretched his tiny fingers toward her, his warm brown eyes filled with innocence and trust. And beside her, watching over them with quiet devotion, was Daniel. Their new life had begun, and for the first time in years, Claire felt free. After leaving the hospital, Claire had expected to feel lost. She had no money, no job, and no real plan, just a newborn and a heart that was slowly learning how to heal. But Daniel had been there, offering his home until she figured things out. "Stay as long as you need," he had told her. At first, she had resisted. She wasn't used to relying on anyone. But Daniel never treated her like a burden. Instead, He treated her like someone worth staying for. While Claire was rebuilding her life, Ryan was watching his fall apart. The scandal had ruined him. With no company, no money, and no reputation left to protect, he had nothing but regret. He had tried to rebuild, tried to invest in new ventures, but no one wanted to do business with a man who had abandoned his pregnant wife. Even his so-called friends had disappeared. They had no use for him anymore. And Vanessa. She had moved on to the next rich man without so much as a goodbye. Ryan was truly alone. And the worst part? No matter how much he tried to drown his guilt in alcohol and meaningless flings, one image haunted him. Claire, standing tall, looking at him as if he no longer mattered. Because he didn't, and never would again. Claire could have taken satisfaction in Ryan's downfall, but she didn't waste her time thinking about him anymore. She had better things to focus on. Like the small business she had started designing custom baby clothes, something that combined her love for fashion with her new life as a mother. And Daniel? He was still by her side, never pushing, never expecting, just being there. One evening, as they sat on the back porch, watching the sunset, Claire turned to him. "Daniel," she murmured. He glanced at her, setting down his cup of tea. "Yeah?" She hesitated for a moment, then smiled softly. "Thank you. For everything." Daniel held her gaze, his expression gentle. "You don't have to thank me, Claire." She shook her head. "I do. Because for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm just surviving. I feel like I'm actually living." Daniel reached for her hand, squeezing it lightly. "That's all I ever wanted for you." And in that moment she knew. She wasn't just someone's wife anymore. She wasn't just a woman who had been left behind. She was strong, independent, loved. She was herself. The final image was one of peace. Claire, standing in the doorway of their home, her baby in her arms, Daniel standing beside her. She looked out at the road ahead, feeling nothing but gratitude. For the pain that had shaped her. For the love that had saved her. For the life she had built on her own terms. And as the wind brushed gently against her skin, she smiled. Because she finally understood something she had never known before. Happiness isn't something you're given. It's something you create. And she had created hers. As Claire stepped into her new life, she proved that strength isn't about where you come from, but about how you rise after being broken. She had been abandoned, betrayed, and underestimated. But in the end, she found love, purpose, and happiness, not because someone gave it to her, but because she chose to create it for herself. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss an emotional, powerful story that will touch your heart and remind you of the strength within. Thank you for watching, and remember, no matter how dark the night gets, there's always a new dawn waiting for you.